For the first time under President Trump, a majority of Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives now favor opening formal impeachment proceedings against the president. Of course, the Senate would have to have its say, but we thought we'd start first by getting voters' thoughts. Is impeachment something as a voter that you want to see go forward?
No.
No. What?
No. It's purely political. There's no legal basis.
Is not exonerated.
Based on what Mueller has presented them,
Right.
They should go ahead and proceed with the impeachment and see where it lands.
No, I don't think impeachment is a good idea. I think we should just leave it up to the voters next year.
I don't trust this current voting system, and you know.
So you want to take your first opportunity?
Absolutely.
With the impeachment nonsense, these people are clowns.
It has reached that point.
You do?
Where you have to take those legal actions.
So you think
to
they
it.
should take action?
I definitely do.
I think they should concentrate on getting other things done. If you start with an impeachment, the process is going to take up a lot of valuable time for everybody.
It's a little too much craziness right now. I think we need to relax, figure out what's going to happen after the next presidential cycle, and then go from there.
Brings us to the Sunday Roundtable conversation, and we're joined this week by Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh, Republican political analyst Rob Gray. Great to see you guys.
So let's dive right into the hot political issue here in Massachusetts. Joe Kennedy is reportedly still thinking about a run against Ed Markey, but there's lots of unexpected blowback from at least one progressive group telling him to think about his country before himself, and another Markey ally suggesting he deal with his very large family's mental health issues first. How did it get so ugly so fast, Rob?
Because Markey's political life is threatened, and when your political life is threatened and you've been in office your entire life, you get desperate. His ploy to cozy up to AOC and the Green New Deal hasn't worked. He knows if Kennedy gets in, he's dead politically.
Is Rob right about that, Marianne?
He is, and look at how they've responded to Joe Kennedy this week. They're clearly not ready for this race. The answer he gave to Channel 5 last week when asked about Joe Kennedy, he had no answer, turned on his heel and walked away. Then he puts out an ad saying Elizabeth Warren endorsed him after she said to the Globe, I did that video 6 or 7 months ago, and boy, Joe Kennedy's a fantastic person. And last but not least is that retweet by a senior Markey aide stating that Joe Kennedy shouldn't run against Markey because he should be dealing with his family's mental health issues. That was the lowest of low, despicable.
He did apologize, but it took a couple of days for the apology to come out.
There's no apology for that. That is ridiculous. And if you're doing that now, you are totally not ready for this race, and Ed Markey won't make it to Columbus Day based on that performance.
All right. Next question is off of this one. Already more than a dozen people claim to be looking at Kennedy's seat if he jumps into the Senate race, and among them the state treasurer Deb Goldberg, former Newton Mayor Seti Warren. They're being tossed around. Marianne, who do you like as a front runner if that happens?
Well, so there's so many people looking at it, it's hard to say. Deb Goldberg, obviously, dogged, determined candidate. Certainly Jesse Mermel, a former Brookline selectman who we all know. And then someone like Chris Dempsey, too, who beat a lot of political talent and politicians to stop the Olympics from coming here. But it's way too early to call front runner.
Rob, what do you think?
Our guest today shows that there is no front runner because nobody thought she would win in a multi-candidate race, especially when you get a lot of candidates in a primary. Anything can happen. So it could be somebody completely out of left field who wins this thing.
Switching to another local issue, RMV Merit Rating Board Director Thomas Bowles, now gone. His attorney is calling him a scapegoat, but doesn't this sort of beg the question, will firing people fix the system, and how confident are you that it will be fixed, Rob?
Well, I'm confident that Charlie Baker's going to fix the system now that he knows it's broken. I think the interesting question is, will responsibility lie further up the chain ultimately after all the investigations and media inquiries are over, or does it stop here? I think there's a good chance it goes farther up.
Are you talking about Stephanie Polly specifically?
Well, it could be, or her office, certainly.
Is Rob right about that? Do you feel confident it'll get fixed, Marianne?
Well, first of all, Rob's right in his analysis. Let me just remind our audience that Thomas Bowles is also running for mayor of Braintree as we speak. I think there are more shoes to drop here. It does go up the chain. I think the biggest question left out there are, of the people who were not informed or notified about this, were any of them involved in any other accidents, that had any injuries or deaths or anything else. I think that's the Pandora's box that could get open, and that would be devastating.
Next item is Seth Moulton. It's getting to be crunch time for him. Deadline coming up for making the next presidential debate this week. Marianne, do you think Moulton's presidential aspirations go beyond Labor Day of this year, I should mention?
They didn't make it past Memorial Day. I mean, when your staff is sending out articles saying stop picking on Seth Moulton, when Seth Moulton is then offering himself up to be a cabinet member in the next Democratic administration, and then you think you want to come back and run for Congress when you also thought about running against Markey, your days are over.
So how tough will re-election be tough for him for his own seat?
He won't win re-election.
Rob?
Well, I think he has a good chance to win re-election because who's the candidate going to be in the primary? Also, if there's a Kennedy-Markey primary, that diverts attention away from a race like that, so it helps the incumbent. The thing for Moulton, it's tricky to extricate yourself from a presidential race. So how he handles that when it happens, and it may be by Labor Day or Columbus Day, will tell us.
The bigger problem is, I mean, the fact that he opposed Nancy Pelosi, and every woman in that district was so upset with him, and he didn't respond to that. Now you have several women who are going to run against him in that primary. That's a problem for Seth Moulton.
We'll be right back.